Good day. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about buffer zones. So buffer zones are very odd. I don't know a lot about them, but they're pretty interesting, so I decided to make a slide on them. A single slide, that is, because it is a screencast. I can't really put the buffer zone in words. This is a term coined by Robert Bruce. He describes them pretty well. I don't know if I'm going to describe them the same, because I'm just basing it off my observation. His observations are pretty similar from what I remember, and basically buffer zones are padding, just very thin padding between planes. This is actually, I think buffer zones are responsible for the numbering of planes themselves. You may read in like Wikipedia or something like that planes have numbers from like 1 to whatever, and if you've been projecting for a while, you know that the astral world is a gradient of frequency, and everything's kind of a gradient. You can't put numbers on them. So I do believe that these buffer zones, the ones that we have access to, the ones that we can detect right away, are the ones that are responsible for the numbering of the planes. It's a very single-minded way of looking at the astral world, is enumerating planes with decimal numbers, or specific frequencies, and I don't advocate this. We don't know where these buffer zones start or stop, so I don't recommend doing this. I've inspected some of the buffer zones. You have to draw your awareness, you have to draw your focus to a microscopic level or something, not even microscopic, just draw your awareness to a very fine object in the buffer zone, and you'll stay in the buffer zone instead of travel through it. Typically you're going to travel through it if you are not interested in anything within it. So I've traveled along a buffer zone, which is really odd. It's not like moving through the planes, and I've observed these artifacts that were left behind. They seem to be left behind from when the planes were first created. It's like how you have scaffolding or areas where people have to travel through to build something up, and they leave behind the scaffolding or this alleyway or whatever. That's what the buffer zone felt like, and I was observing these constructs that I can't even put in words, that were there to help, I don't know, maintain or stabilize these planes or even build the planes. Also, buffer zones could potentially be the result of a collective perception of the astral world. So there's probably a lot of other beings that are kind of trapped in the mechanical worlds like we are, and we cannot perceive the gradient of frequency in the astral world like it should be perceived, and we conjure up these buffer zones, and these buffer zones are just like a universal thing that we've thought about, and it just manifested in the astral world over time. And that could be one thing, or it could be the scaffolding, like I explained. Typically buffer zones are going to be the oddest thing that you'll ever travel through. If you were to actually travel through them slowly, usually it's like a paper thin layer that you just kind of bolt through. So if you put your focus down, like I said, when you're passing through it, you won't actually go through the buffer zone really quickly. You'll actually observe things within it, and then it'll automatically expand, and you'll perceive it as something vast, like the typical planes, or what we perceive to be planes. Anyways, that's it for the buffer zone. See you next video.